The Shark Deck.
Hello and welcome to Palace Intrigue. I am your host, Mark Francis. A new book by Robert Jobson, Our King, details an exchange between Harry and Charles. In it, Harry tells Charles he plans to marry Meghan Markle. William was also at the meeting and asks, "Are you sure, Harold?" Harry says yes. Per the excerpt from the book in the Daily Mail, Charles then dropped a bombshell saying he couldn't afford to pay for Meghan in the future, as well as for Camilla and for William and Catherine and their young family. This infuriated Harry. In the lead up to the wedding, the excerpt says William and Charles noticed that Harry seemed to be permanently on edge. Members of the bride and groom's entourage also noted that the prince had become petulant and short-tempered, raising his voice on occasion to staff and even swearing. Harry, for his part, was now convinced that William didn't approve of his choice of bride. Sometimes the level of belligerence between his sons, and indeed towards himself when they challenged him, shocked Charles. One particular exchange with William had become so heated that it had actually left him shaken. A look behind the scenes of Megxit has Harry telling Charles late in 2019 that he and his wife no longer wished to serve as full-time working royals, but wanted a workable plan for them to be part in, part out, splitting their time between the UK and North America. Charles, who was used to his son letting off steam periodically, listened but eventually said that the idea was unworkable. Oblivious to his considered opinion, the Sussexes went public with their plans. As nothing had been agreed, Charles was understandably upset. That led to the Sandringham Summit in January 2020. The excerpt suggests the Queen had the place swept for listening devices. So concerned was the monarch about privacy that on taking advice she had the library, where the meeting was to take place, swept for bugs. There was a suggestion that Meghan should join Charles, William and Harry via video link from Canada, but the Queen ruled that her attendance in any form was not necessary, as Harry would represent her. It was also felt that a video link wouldn't be secure, as Charles and William wouldn't be able to tell if the meeting was being recorded or if Meghan had anyone else listening in as they spoke. In the aftermath, William went to his father and told him that the royal family needed a clear strategy in dealing with the renegade royals. Charles agreed. From then on, Harry's father and brother decided they would no longer treat him as a trusted, if often infuriating, member of the family. In short, they would never again meet Harry alone. There would always have to be another person in the room. There is also the tale of the Queen meeting Harry and Meghan at Windsor Castle when they made a stopover in April 2022 en route to The Hague for the Invictus Games. She agreed to see her grandson on the proviso that he met and talked with his father too. The couple were welcomed warmly by the Queen in what turned out to be the last time Harry saw his grandmother. Charles was also at the castle, along with Camilla, where he was standing in for his mother at the annual Maundy Thursday service. To add insult to injury, Harry and Meghan turned up late, meaning the meeting with Prince Charles lasted less than 15 minutes. The excerpt goes on to suggest that even the Queen had had enough of Harry. By the time his grandmother died, Harry had precious few supporters left in the family. Even the Queen, who had always had great affection for him, eventually tired of his outbursts. First, she had wearied of the volatile exchanges between Harry and his brother, which sometimes took place in her presence. Then Harry and Meghan had started publicly criticizing both the monarchy and members of the royal family. At that point, the Queen was frankly mystified by the couple's behavior, describing it as quite mad. She came to believe, however, that her grandson was so consumed by his love for his wife that it was clouding his judgment. And she felt let down. Not only was Her Majesty disappointed in Harry's decision to abandon his royal duty, but she also saw the departure of the Sussexes as a missed opportunity. Despite that, the Queen sincerely hoped that her grandson would find peace and happiness living the life he had chosen. Harry, for his part, phoned her regularly from California, but it troubled the Queen when he kept trying to air his grievances. In the end, she asked him to speak directly to his father instead. A source said, Her Majesty found Prince Harry's calls quite difficult and wearisome. She didn't want to interfere in the father-son relationship and would urge him to speak to his father. That didn't work out either. Prince Charles simply stopped taking Harry's calls after his son swore at him and repeatedly asked for funds. When the Queen asked Charles why he hadn't given in, he told her that he wasn't a bank. Palace Intrigue will be right back. Hey, have you noticed your grocery bill creeping up lately? Are you finding your dollar just isn't going as far as it used to? Well, I have a solution, and it means 50% off with America's #1 meal kit, Hello Fresh. HelloFresh takes the hassle out of mealtime this spring by delivering pre-portioned ingredients and easy-to-prepare recipes right to your door. Skip the checkout lines, save some bucks, and get outside in the warmer weather because HelloFresh has dinner covered. Spend less time in the kitchen with quick and easy meals like HelloFresh's fast and fresh pineapple chicken tacos or falafel power bowls, ready in 15 minutes or less. Looking for more ways to save? HelloFresh is cheaper than grocery shopping and 25% cheaper than takeout. That's a lot of math. But trust me, these savings add up because here's the great part. Go to HelloFresh.com/Palace50 and use the code Palace50 for 50% off. Plus, your first box ships free. That's HelloFresh.com/Palace50. HelloFresh.com/Palace50. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit.
I'm Nina Hobson, ex-police detective from the UK. I've worked on every crime mentionable, from murder to kidnap to stalking to fraud. When I left the force, I launched my own investigations firm that soon became a global operation. I'm also a single mother of two, to two members of my team, my son Harrison and daughter Amy. Every week, we'll be getting first-hand accounts from psychological experts, operatives, former criminals, actual victims of the crimes that we investigate, and of course, my very own flesh and blood. From Storic Media, you're listening to Codename Siren, a true crime podcast. Available on YouTube and all major podcast platforms.
The BBC reports Buckingham Palace has said that it is cooperating with an independent study exploring the relationship between the British monarchy and the slave trade in the 17th and 18th centuries. The study is expected to be completed in 2026. A Buckingham Palace spokesperson said, "This is an issue that His Majesty takes profoundly seriously. Given the complexities of the issues, it is important to explore them as thoroughly as possible." A palace statement was issued in response to The Guardian, which has published a previously unseen document showing the 1689 transfer of shares in the slave-trading Royal African Company from Edward Colston, the slave trader and the company's deputy governor, to King William III. The Daily Mail reminds us in the past there have been calls for the royal family to pay compensation on the grounds that previous generations of the monarchy profited from the slave trade. Arlie Gill of the National Reparations Commission of Grenada said, "The royal family must make repair and atonement for the people and societies that would have suffered because of their involvement in the slave trade. Reparations now cannot be a subject that can be swept under the royal rug of the royal household." But former Tory MP Harvey Proctor called for any reparations to be paid by Charles personally and not by the state. He said, "Payment of any reparations must not come from the state, otherwise we should sue the French for the damage caused by the Norman conquest in 1066 and similar to the USA for the price of the tea lost in Boston Harbor." Historian Rafe Heidel-Manku told GB News only 3% of the British economy in around 1770 had any relation to the slave trade. So this myth that we hear a lot in this country now that the empire, the Industrial Revolution, and the monarchy's wealth was built on slavery is absolute nonsense. Fellow historian Andrew Roberts said, "There is no justification for blaming Charles III for the actions of Charles II." And there you have it. If you'd like to email us, our address is thepalaceintrigue@gmail.com. Please follow us on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, YouTube Music, or your podcast app of choice. I'm Mark Francis. My thanks to John McDermott. This is Palace Intrigue and good times.
I'm Johnny Mac, host of Daily Comedy News. Do you like the little Letterman homage there on the music bed? Yeah, start your mornings with a quick 10-minute recap of late night, not Dave, all late night. And the latest on Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock, John Mulaney, Tig Notaro, Eliza Schlesinger, Amy Schumer, Joe Rogan, Mark Maron, all your favorite comedians. It's Daily Comedy News. It's an easy way to start your morning, and I promise I'll keep it clean. Daily Comedy News, wherever you get your shows.